Welcome to the Encore Audio Archives YouTube channel. I'm Taper Dave, and this is my channel. I've uploaded hundreds of talks here that I've recorded at meetings in West LA, and I've also recorded conventions starting in 2013. I've got a bunch of those up. And Walt and Mary Murray, the original owners of Encore Audio Archives, started the company in the 80s, and Walt recorded Joe and Charlie's and a bunch of stuff down in Vista, California. My sobriety date is June 20th of 1994. I hope you find something you like, so please like and subscribe to my channel and comment down below. If you want to hear something that I don't have or that you don't see, I'll see that I get it. Anyways, take care and have a great day if you want to.
Let's give a warm welcome to our main speaker, Tony.
Hello, my name is Tony. I'm an alcoholic. I know there's somebody here tonight for their first meeting, and it reminds me of my first meeting. I was in the Pacific Palisades on a Monday night, December the 29th, 1975, and I had been on a long journey, apart from being down in Arizona, but I'd been on a long journey for years, drinking and trying to find an answer for my life. And I was born in Wales, which is a very good excuse to drink. I see there are a couple of Irish people here tonight. The Welsh were the Irish who couldn't swim. We suffered the... I'd say anything to get a laugh. I was born in Wales, and long time ago. I remember it very clearly, actually. I remember my early years, my first... I've got a very long memory. I can remember back to about the age of 3 or maybe 2. You know, not in every detail, but I remember quite a lot. And I had quite a pleasant... I was born in a very pleasant part of South Wales, a place called Margam, near Port Talbot. And it was beautiful, and I have very clear images of it and memories of it. And I was the only child, and the only trouble I started getting into was when my first day in school at the age of 4. And I realized on that first day at school that I was on the wrong planet. I couldn't think in those terms, but I didn't feel comfortable with anyone. I had no friends, no school kids. And I didn't play with any kids. I was a real loner. I used to stand in the playground on my own. And I couldn't understand what they were talking about. I didn't know what, and they could have been talking Martian. I couldn't understand what the teachers were talking about. And we had one teacher called Miss Thomas, and I remember she introduced us to the Lord's Prayer, Our Father who art in heaven, and all that stuff. And, you know, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want, and all that. Those are religious classes, I guess. My father said to me when I got home one day, he said, "That's a load of rubbish. Don't believe in it. There's no such thing as God." Now, he didn't mean any harm by that. That was his belief. That was his belief system. He was an agnostic, and I think he died an agnostic. He professed not to believe in anything, which was sad for him because he was a self-willed man, and I think he died of this condition, alcoholism. I know we're taught not to take other people's inventory, but my father was an alcoholic, I believe. Probably a periodic alcoholic. He died in 1981. But from that time on, I believed that there was nothing in this world, just, you know, do them before they can do you. Get them before they can get you. Don't trust anyone. It's a dog-eat-dog world, and that's the way I was brought up, raised. Not by my father. My father did try to do a good job. He was a decent man. He was a great guy, really. But I didn't believe that... I didn't believe in loving anyone or getting close to anyone, because I couldn't. I was incapable of it. And as the years went by, I won't give you a whole biography of my life, but when I got to my adolescent years, which are always difficult for everyone, I felt very alienated from everyone. And my school career, thank God, it was so bad and made me so angry, because I was, like a lot of kids, abused, beaten about, hit about, because I couldn't understand physics or chemistry or math or whatever. So, you know, they give you a wallop across the side of the head, which is not a great way to inspire confidence. But then I'm told that a lot of those teachers had just come out of the war years and they were deranged themselves. Some of them were nuts. And I believe that. I remember one guy, he was our chemistry teacher, he had his fingernails pulled out during the war in the prisoner of war camp. So he had a lot of reason to be angry. Unfortunately, he took it out on me. And really, I didn't realize until very recently that why I've been so angry all my life, and I didn't realize. And it came to me one day, I was talking to somebody, and I thought, they said, you were beaten around? I said, wasn't beaten, black and blue, but I was punished, and I was made to feel that I was stupid and I was dumb. And it suddenly dawned on me, I thought, maybe that's why I've been angry all my life. Angry, don't trust anyone, don't get near anyone. And it's taken me a long time in sobriety to open up and get close to people. I still have that tendency to not trust, but this last year has been quite a revelation for me. But what happened was that I left school in 1955, and I decided I was going to go into the acting business. I didn't decide, it just so happened there was a scholarship in a local acting school, and I'd never acted before, but I tried this audition, and for some reason they gave me a place in the school, in the college. And I was there for 2 years, and I came out and did my military service, which you call the draft over here. We had that over there. And 2 years, and I didn't get into any trouble with drinking. I didn't drink that much. I don't think I drank at all very much. Saturday nights I'd go out with some of the guys, but never got into any trouble. And then in 1960 I came out of the army. I'd finished my sort of what we called national service over there, was you called the draft or military service. And I came out, and 1960, February 1960, 40 years ago, and God almighty. So I decided to pursue this acting career, and I started getting a couple little jobs in local repertory companies in Manchester and Liverpool up in northern England, places like that. And I couldn't hold down a job because I was so crazy, and I was given a job as an assistant stage manager. And I sort of muddled along, and I had a lot of energy and a lot of fury and anger in me. And one director told me I had a lot of talent. He said, but you were crazy. He said, but you are crazy. He said, you're dangerous on stage. You can't hit people for real on stage. This is. I nearly broke somebody's neck. I threw him off the stage, and I thought that was acting. But he said, you can't do that because you'll hurt somebody. He says, I'm going to fire you. He said, I suggest you go off and get a real decent training. So I did that for 2 years. And it was in the 60s that my drinking started, and everyone drank. And that's in those days. Everyone seemed to drink. We were all actors together, and students, and music, and I hung around with what I thought were creative people, musicians, actors, writers, and we all drank. This is before drugs, really. I mean, I don't think anyone in those days, in Britain anyway, we didn't have access to, I don't think it was fashionable. We didn't smoke dope, we just drank. I drank anything I couldn't chew. It's mostly beer. But I've always had a big thirst. I remember when I was 6, actually, I had pneumonia. I was about 5 or 6, and I had pneumonia, and I was very thirsty. And my mother would leave a glass of water by the bed, but it wasn't enough. And she'd leave it, gone. So she put a jug there, a big jug full of water. I remember my father waking up next door. He said, good God, what's that noise? And I said, and he came and he said, what are you doing? God, he's going to be a drunk when he grows up. That's exactly what I became. I got very close to my grandfather. My grandfather asked me when I was a little kid, he said, what do you want to be when you grow up, George? He used to call me George for some reason. My father called me Charlie. I was very close to my grandfather. He's my mother's father. And he called me George, and my father called me Charlie. So I think I had an early identity crisis. My father was always worried about me because I was so stupid at school. They called it ADD. Well, I was just dumb. Maybe I was suffering from ADD. I think I was probably alcoholic then when I was in an early age. I didn't know what they were talking about. My father's one gesture was this: God knows what's going to happen to me. I didn't know what's going to happen. That was his gesture. I didn't know what's going to happen to him. He worries me. That's all his life. He worried about me. God bless him and love him. He died some years ago. But my grandfather said, what do you want to be when you grow up? I said, I want to be a drifter. I'd seen a movie. I was addicted to movies. Now, my father used to take me to see these old Warner Brothers movies of God knows what, and in the local cinema. This is just after the war. I'm talking about the Second World War, not the First World War. If the newcomers here tonight, by the way, somebody said tonight, this is the best deal in town. And to the person who's here for the first time, this can change your life, as it did mine. But anyway, I'll get to that later. See, I'd seen a film where these guys used to ride on the trucks, you know, the trains coming on those, whatever they were, coming across the great American continent, and they were drifters. And I thought that was so romantic, to be a drifter. And that's what I became, a drifter. You know, talk about self-fulfilling prophecy. I am a drifter, really. I found a profession which allowed me to drift in comfort. So I'm a real loner. I get on planes or trains or boats and trains or whatever, and travel places. I go to odd cities, strange cities in the world, and in my business, and I could be in Australia or wherever, and I can phone the local AA group and say, where's the meeting? Oh, there's one down in the Sydney Harbour, go down there. Walk into a room full of Australian alcoholics, and they drink down there. But it's wonderful. It's just, I love this life. I love being alone. I love being alone. I am alone. I don't say it to be fashionable or to be interesting. I am like that. I can't really live in much space with anyone else. I've not been very good at that. And, you know, I think alcoholics are, well, I know this one is not very adept at relationships. You know, you hear people say, I've got a relationship problem, and everyone says, ah. Alcoholics, we are a strange bunch. We are different. As Matt said, we are different. Happy birthday, by the way. We are different. I was married. I know a lot of non-alcoholics, and their drinking habits are as weird to me as mine were to them. I've seen them. I've sat in restaurants with them. They have one, you know, quarter bottle of wine between four of them. I got a friend in London. He sometimes borrows a cigarette. He takes one cigarette and he smokes it like this. And he goes, Oh. I was in a situation where I was newly sober, and I was coming across from New York, or going to New York, I can't remember. I'd been sober about, I don't know, a few months. And I think it must have been 4th of July. I don't know what it was. Anyway, there was this flight attendant, and she looked like she was one of us, and she was passing out champagne. She was passing champagne around. She said, champagne, anyone? And she said to me, would you like champagne? So I said, no, thanks. Not for me. She said, just a little champagne. I said, no, thank you. I just another orange juice. Come on, just a little drop. I said, no, thanks, just an orange juice. Why not? I said, because I've got a report for work next month. And she looked at me, she said, I don't understand. I said, no, nor do I. I'm glad I'm an alcoholic. To the newcomer, maybe you'll be glad you're an alcoholic. I'm glad I'm an alcoholic. Alcoholism is a great gift for me. I'm not going to speak for anyone else. For me, it is a great, great gift, because it was a curse and a blessing, and it got me places. It did things for me. It protected me. It gave me courage, and it got me through things. It was my pal. And then, being an alcoholic, it turned round and started to destroy me. But it's interesting. It's fascinating. I'm glad I was almost destroyed by it. I was talking to somebody this morning, a man who's having a big problem with this, and he phoned me this morning, and he's a sad wreck, really, and he's been in and out of the program, and he said to me this morning, he said he was celebrating St. Patrick's Day yesterday, and he thinks he's sober, but he said because he just drinks a little beer, and he has a little bit of dope. And he said, I hope you're my friend. I said, yeah. I said, but I'll be honest with you, you're dying. And you're going to die soon. And you look terrible, you're dying. You're in bad shape. He said, oh, don't tell me that. I said, you are. I said, but I'm telling you because I'm being kind to you. You're dying, and you're going to die, and you won't have much longer. And he looks terrible. I mean, his body is falling apart. Because that's what this is about. But I'm glad I've got that in me. I'm glad I have that. It's a great gift, because it gives you an edge. When I first got sober, I thought I would lose my edge. Well, having alcoholism in my nature, in my psyche, in my chromosomes or genes, whatever it is, gives me the edge. Because wherever I go, the precipice follows me. So I can't go back. Because if I go back, I'm dead. That's what it's like. And if I take a drink today, I'm 24 years worse off than I've ever been. Because the allergy or the condition in my body and my psyche are 24 years more potent. And if I take a drink now, I'll probably be dead within a few days. I have no idea, but I know it wouldn't be much fun. But what happened, and I'll get to the point, I became an actor, yeah, and I got to that. And I was, I used to work very hard, and I was told I had a bit of talent, and I used to work very hard, and I got into some pretty good positions, and I got into some pretty good jobs in the big top theatre in London, and I was working there with some pretty classy people. And I couldn't get it together. I was given some big opportunities, but I was angry all the time, and I would screw up. It wasn't just the drink that screwed me up, it was me that screwed things up. I mean, I would get to a point of success, and then I'd turn on somebody, and I'd lash out at them. And I was told by the big boss of this place, he said, you know, if you don't shape up, you know, he said, you have a great opportunity. He said, you're a great, you know, you've got a great talent. He said, but if you don't stop drinking, something's going to happen. I said, oh. I said, well, I said, oh. I said, oh. So I saw the writing on the wall, so I walked out before he could fire me. That's pretty smart. Get out before they can get you. And that's the way I've run my life. Get out before they can get you. Walk out before they can get you. It's been my thing with relationships, walk out. I don't mean relationships with friends, anyone, whoever. Just don't get too close. Walk away before you get too close. Walk away before they can find out about you. And so that's what I did. In 1973, I walked out. I've been married twice. And after I walked out, I went off to Israel, and I was doing a film there. And I came over here to California briefly. And then amazing things started happening. But I went back to England, and I discovered tequila. I love tequila. And I drank tequila, and it made me hallucinate, and went back to England. And I used to watch television, and I sit there with my wife, and I used to watch those things like Starsky and Hutch or Dukes of Hazzard, whatever was on here. Watch the television, and I knew that the streets of California. I'd watch, you know, whatever the film was. And I'd look at those people, and I'd say to my wife, I said, God, I bet they all drink tequila. She'd look at me and say, uh-huh. 'Cause she's not an alcoholic. She also smokes a cigarette like that. She also has a drink on the table which is there for 4 hours. Sometimes she says, didn't I have a drink somewhere? I say, yeah, it's on the kitchen table. I always know. Why would anyone put a drink down? Somebody would offer another drink. She said, no, I'm beginning to feel it. I said, that's the whole point. She asked me once, she said, why would anyone want to get sick and ill? I said, very, very good reasons. If you're like me, you have to get sick and ill because the pain is too much. And that's why I drank. And so what happened in 1974, I came back to America looking for tequila. I came here to do a job in New York. My intention was to get as much tequila as I could. And it didn't occur to me that my thinking was a little weird. And I remember arriving in New York, and we started doing this play, and there was a woman called Mary, and she was a member of this outfit, Alcoholics Anonymous. And she had that, she was a very nice woman, lovely woman. She was Irish-American. She had a wonderful smile. It was the AA smile. Hi. And somebody told me that, he said, did you know that Mary's an alcoholic? I said, oh, really? Oh, that's sad. I said, she's never drunk. They said, no, she's a member of Alcoholics Anonymous. I said, oh, well. That's why she smokes so much. She has to smoke because she goes. And I say, morning, Mary. She said, hi. She gave me the AA smile, the AA treatment. She never told me any, she never lectured me, but anyway, that's the way it was. And I did ask her for help. She offered help, and I turned it down. And I came out to California in 1975, and I managed to stay dry for a few weeks, and I came out here to California in 1975 in July, and then I was in a party one night, and I inevitably took that first drink, and it was the worst. It happened to be tequila, and it was the worst. And it was just down the road. It was just around Point Doom. I remember I was doing a film, the television thing, and I just passed it tonight. God, it's down on the beach there. I was in this trailer. It was in this sort of Winnebago, and a bunch of us were in there drinking up a storm. There was an actress in there, she died a few years ago. We were all drinking tequila, and I remember going out into the dark, and the stars came down. I went through the Milky Way. I mean, I was really weird. My drinking was no more social drinking, and I started having quasi-religious experiences, which is odd if you're an atheist. You know, I started believing I was John the Baptist, and I thought I saw Jesus walking on the beach and all that. And I loved tequila. It made me hallucinate. Anyway, the long story is my wife went back to England. She went back in Christmas 1975 to give me time to die, if that's what I so chose, or drink myself to death, because she couldn't cope anymore. She couldn't put up with it. She didn't want to see me dying, and I was taking her to the airport, and I said to her, I think I'm an alcoholic. And she said, well, maybe you are. It's up to you. And she wasn't very warm. She was kind of a little bit frosty, a little bit unfriendly. So I let her out the airport. I said, LAX, and I said, well, have a good Christmas. Yeah, and you. She walked away. Not even a kiss. I thought, screw her. But that's what really saved my bacon, because she walked away, and I got back in the car, and a few days later I drove down to Arizona. I was on my way down to New Mexico to look for those magic mushrooms that Carlos Castaneda talks about. I never even read Carlos Castaneda. I must read him one day. But I tried to read it. I could never get past the first 3 pages because I'd be drunk, you know. But I got as far as Phoenix in Arizona. And I was in the hotel, and that was the end of my life there. Everything died in me, and I came back. I was blacked out. And I came back to Los Angeles on the 27th of December. It was in 1975. It was 27th of December, 3 or 4 days before my natal birthday. And I was sitting in my apartment in Westwood on Wilshire Boulevard, and the evening shadows were getting longer and longer. And all the loneliness that I'd ever felt in my life came up for me, and I was alone. I was deeply alone. And the phone rang, and somebody invited me to a party. And I ended up in a party in Holmby Hills, and I was under the piano for most of the evening, which is not a good place for a social drinker. And there was a couple of other actors there. And it got to such a point they decided to throw me out. And I was standing there on the doorstep of the front door with this guy who was my agent at the time. He said, and I'd lost my car. The point of it was that I hadn't lost my car. They'd rescued me. They'd found me in the middle of the street with a car engine on. I was wandering around singing songs, and they got me there. And I said, I don't remember any of it. And he said, you don't? I said, no. But one thing I do know is I'm an alcoholic and I need help. And the pilot light sort of went on. And on the Sunday, I took a whole day to think about this. So it's a wonder I'm here, because that's what they say about alcoholics. You can think your way into death. You can think your way out of this program. If you get too smart, you die. So thank God I wasn't too smart for this program. But on the Monday morning, I phoned up central office on Westwood, the Westwood branch, and I said, my name is Tony. This is Alcoholics Anonymous. May I help you? I said, my name is Tony. I said, I think I'm an alcoholic. And this elderly lady, she sounded probably my age now. I said, I'm Tony. She said, yeah, can I help you? I said, I think I'm an alcoholic. She said, good. I said, I'm in bad shape. She said, that's good. So she said, would you like somebody to come round and see you? I said, no, I'll come in and see you. And I went round to the central office on Westwood Boulevard, and I walked into this office, and there she was, this nice white-haired lady. Her name was Dorothy. And she wasn't an alcoholic herself. In fact, she was answering the phones to help out with AA, because AA had saved her husband's life. And he was in the motion picture business as a sound man. And as I sat there, she talked to me, and I knew that it was over. My time was up, as it almost is now. And somebody said, your time is up. And I sat there and I said, I've stopped drinking many times, but I can't stay stopped. She said, well, that's alcoholism, she said, looking straight into me. I said, oh. And she said, it's progressive and it's terminal and it'll kill you. I said, I've heard that before. She said, but if you don't take the first drink, you won't get drunk. Well, that's so insulting to a man of my supreme intelligence. As I got up to go, she said, let me just say something to you. She said, she gave me a phone number. She said, let me just say, she said, why don't you just trust in God? And a big light went on inside me. Woof. And I grabbed hold of her, embraced her. As I went down on the street on Westwood Boulevard that morning, about maybe 10 o'clock in the morning, 10:30, it was like a big voice surrounded me, big surround sound. And it said, it's all over, and it's all been for a purpose, so don't forget one moment of it. Now go about your business. It was a big, deep voice. And the craving to drink left me at that moment and has never come back. So I take it that something quite miraculous happened in my life that moment, and it changed my life. I was taken to a meeting that night in the Pacific Palisades, the Corpus Christi Church. A man called George picked me up, he and his girlfriend Lila, and they never shut up from the moment they picked me up. They talked and talked and talked all the way down Sunset Boulevard, and I thought I was going to kill them. He shook my hand, he said, my name's George, I'm an alcoholic, and he nearly broke my hand. He's still around, and he lives up north now, and he took me to my first meeting, and I sat in this big room, and yeah, it was a crowd of people like this. And there's a man called Chuck C. spoke that night. And he said, if anyone out there resents me, that's your problem, not mine. My name's Chuck, I'm an alcoholic. He said. And I thought, God almighty. And I knew that it was over. The craving to drink left me. And I was introduced to Chuck later, and he said, you keep coming back, Sonny, he said, because we get better than better. And listening to Susan tonight was wonderful. It was a reminder of those days, you know, Radford. I went to so many meetings, I can't remember the meetings I went to, half of them. And I remember the second night, I was a Tuesday down at Westwood, 2+2. And I was sitting there next to a guy who stank of urine, and he had broken shoes, and he was finished. He's just come off Skid Row, and there was, on the church window, was God is love, and I thought, I'm out of here. Christianity and the church, forget it. I'm out. I hated God, I hated Christianity, I hated the church, I hated all that suffering, all that damnation and salvation. That's why the thought of salvation. And I saw it as a great shining arch through which I would never be able to pass because I was such a sinner. That's how I thought of myself. And I was about to leave, and the man sitting next to me said, stay. Just don't move. And I stayed, and then this guy came back with me to my apartment, and he said, and he talked to me, he made me laugh. And it was like a healing. And that's what I've been doing. I've been going to meetings ever since. I sponsored a few people, and my basic message is to them and to myself, and I have to remember this, because I think alcoholics are simple people who think they're complicated. It's a simple-minded program for simple people who think they're complicated. That's me talking to myself. I'm not very smart. I may think that I'm pretty clever, but I'm not. What I did to myself was stupid. If I found anyone who did to me what I did to myself, I would have killed them. And I'm a self-destruct. I've got I beat myself up. I've given myself a bad time over the years. But I'm learning recently not to do that. And what I do is I just keep it simple. And I got one young guy who wants to complicate it and talk about it and analyze the steps and analyze this and analyze God and all. I said, just shut up. Keep it simple. Go to meetings. Don't drink. Do the best you can. Be of service. Help out. Get a sponsor. And that's it. There's a man called Jack Bailey. He's dead now, but he used to check in with me. Jack had been sober 100 years, and he said, find something to laugh about each day. That's all. Just find something to laugh about. And that's what I do. And he said, have a sense of humor, because that's real spirituality. Avoid the gurus. Avoid the preachers. But he said, even those, he said, bless them, love them, and leave them. But make it simple for yourself, and that's what I do. And to the newcomer and to the person who's here for the first time tonight, if you want this program, it is the greatest thing that can happen for people like us. For me, it is impossible to be sober. It is totally impossible, logically, for me to be sober in a finite way. I came to America looking for fame and fortune, and I ended up in this outfit, Alcoholics Anonymous, the last place I ever wanted to come to. I was brought here. I was brought here I thought for other reasons, but I was brought here, and I got here, and I was swept away by it, and I'm glad I'm an alcoholic. I'm certainly glad I'm a sober alcoholic. But I've learned to accept that alcoholism is a gift for me. Some of you may not like to hear that, but to me it's been a great gift. I've had 2 lives. One was pretty tragic and pretty painful, and there's a lot of fun as well with it. Well, there wasn't that much fun. Actually, there's no fun at all. That was the dark side of my life. Now I found the lighter side of my life. I'm pretty happy. I'm content most of the time. I get restless. I'm still very restless. I'm still a loner. I still like to get in my car and travel, and God knows, go wherever. And I've got 1 minute left. What has happened is that the sense of wanting to achieve stuff has left me now. I don't care anymore. I just want to be alive. I still do the business I'm in. I'm in the acting business. I'm going to go back to work in May. Somebody said, are you excited? I said, no. Aren't you excited? I said, no. Been there, done it all, bought the T-shirt and the postcard. But I do it because it keeps me off the streets, so that's why I work. But it's great to be alive, and it's great to be sober, and without sobriety I would have nothing. I would have nothing. I would have been dead long ago. Anyway, thanks a lot.
Okay, this is how I prepare my drone for launching. I like to do it inside the cab of my truck so I'm not standing outside in the weather. To install the joysticks for control, up and down, right and left, powered on. I have an Android phone that I use to connect it to the drone with. And it's actually controlled through the iPhone, through an app. Oops, wrong way. It's actually controlled through the iPhone, or through this Android phone, through the app. It's actually controlled through the Android phone, through an app, and you connect it through this short connection right here.
Remote control connected.
Remote control's connected. So I pull out the drone. I have to extend the legs. Long legs extended first, then the short legs. Remove the gimbal protector. Set that aside, then power it on one short burst, then one long burst. I lay it down. So I have to go to calibrate. So the drone's not connected yet. It shows you here as this drone gets disconnected, even though the remote's powered on. So the drone has to establish it's connected. So I go into the app to calibration mode. First I'll calibrate the remote controller. Start calibration. Out, in, oop, out, in, up, down, and then this little wheel is to control the gimbal. So it's calibrated. Go to gimbal calibration, start calibration, and then it calibrates the gimbal. I don't know if that shows up. The gimbal's moving all over the place. Changes, you can see it on the video. And I'm calibrated to take off. It's acquired 7 satellites at the moment. There are 26 satellites up in the sky, which it has to acquire before you can take off. So it's connected. It's got enough satellites. This is white. I can go to press this little arrow button, swipe right to take off, and it would start the motors if I slid this to the right. But I'll wait till I get outside. Don't want to do it inside.